Dear Professor, I am very thankful for the conference that we just was finished. You were speaking about this penis envy and why Freud had such a crazy idea.
I think that, see, he was a little boy and he grew up in not very opulent and economically affluent circumstances. His father was not a very successful businessman, and I cannot imagine that they had a very big house and mansion or some such thing. They live in apartments. And think about it, by the time he was 9.5 years old, his mother had been pregnant 6 times. 6 times, and given birth to 6 babies. So obviously in a small apartment, if a mother is getting pregnant 6 times, how much the child is exposed to parental sexuality, their sounds, their sights, their smells, and so on. So I think that he was a little too exposed to sexuality. And that's why sexuality became so central in his organization. There are other theories. There's an analyst historian by the name of Peter Rudnitsky. He has been writing about what happened between him and his nursemaid, and then what happened between him and his sisters, and so on. So I don't know the factuality of them. But to my mind, the main thing is the degree of exposure that he had. And after him and between Julius, there are 4 sisters. So now you're seeing 4 little girls, often maybe 1-year-old, 6-month-old, naked. So the exposure to the female genital, the exposure to parental sexuality. I think in a crowded quarters, when a boy is raised in this situation, he would be more sensitive to these kinds of things. You know, just think about, we compare it with Winnicott, who grew up in a big estate, big house, and was surrounded by ladies. You know, mother's 2 sisters, and his own 2 sisters, mother, his own 2 sisters, bigger, older sisters, not younger, and 2 maids. So he became very sensitive to being impinged upon, and he had to be himself. Father was a busy, very famous engineer who later on became Sir Frederick Winnicott. So I think our theories are more or less affected by our character also. And because we are human, there will always be some truth in the theory. But because we are human, there will always be some mistakes in the theory.
Can it also be that Freud had, he in a way deposited his own envy, the woman? This is a deposited.
Karen Horney writes about the child's envy of a mother's capacity to bear children. And how a male child knows that even in his future he'll never be able to bear a child, as against a girl at least has a solace that someday she might, you know, and that envy also can get projected. Also, there's the whole thing about circumcision. That also plays some very interesting role. There was a Dutch analyst, his name was Eddy de Klerk, and he had written some papers on Freud's circumcision. And I used to think that circumcision among Jewish people happens on 8th day. And I thought that 8-year-old, interesting slip, that 8-day-old baby is too young to have registered this. As against in India, in Pakistan, in Egypt, in Iran, the age of circumcision in Turkey is very variable, you know. So in most such places, in Muslim countries, the circumcision happens anything between 4 to 9, which is, you know, at 4 is very, very, now the child has a self-image and edible fantasies and such, and then to circumcision to happen is really a Italian punishment for the sexual fantasies and causes inhibitions and anxiety and such. But Eddy de Klerk felt that even at 8 months it can leave pre-verbal images in the mind. And some of Freud's preoccupation with castration has to do with circumcision. We don't know.
I agree.
Something.
Thank you very much.
So the better